Hello students, very welcome to today's video. In today's video, we'll understand about a very famous person called Dr. Manmohan Singh who just passed away yesterday. Dr. Manmohan Singh, the reformer of India. He is the architect of India's economic reforms, one of the major leader. And here, आप देख सकते हैं यहाँ पे, he is with PV Narasimha Rao, जो हमारे ex prime minister थे. And around that time, Mr. Manmohan Singh was the finance minister of the country. Now, when you try to see the role Mr. Manmohan Singh has played, it is naturally one of the best phases of the India's economy. And in the next few minutes, हम समझेंगे कैसे how the economic growth has made the difference in the last few years. Now, coming to the role of Mr. Manmohan Singh. Mr. Manmohan Singh as a person has played a very numerous role, and right from a person who studied in Oxford, Cambridge, और उसके बाद जब इन्होंने पढ़ाई करी, he came to India in late 50s and late 60s में he was the chief economic advisor. Later on, he was the RBI governor, and then eventually एक phone call गया उनको, and that phone call was from the prime minister, that was PV Narasimha Rao, and PV Narasimha Rao said, see, I need somebody, a technical person, an expert who will lead the country and make sure that India का जो economic reform है वो हो पाए. And that is where Mr. Manmohan Singh became the first technocrat based on merit, a finance minister who naturally made a difference, and he brought new economic policy. New economic policy जो हमारे इंडिया की जो economic पॉलिसी थी, इस न्यू इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसी ने 1991 में reforms किए, and this new economic policy in the reform brought LPG reform, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization reform. Now the question comes that how this reform has made a difference. Well, इसका difference ये है that if you try to understand from 1947 till 2024 की बात करें, so India's average growth rate has been close to 6%, 5.99% हमारा growth rate रहा है. But in the trajectory from 1991 onwards, हमारा जो growth rate है वो real में it has been on the higher side. It is close to more than 6.5 to 7%. So this was the role that was played by Mr. Manmohan Singh, and that made a huge difference. So when you try to understand हुआ क्या था, well, around that time India witnessed a major challenge, और सबसे बड़ा जो challenge था, that was called BOP crisis of 1991. इस BOP crisis में इंडिया का forex reserve had plummeted to $1 billion, and इंडिया के पास सिर्फ minimum period के लिए reserves थे, and India also faced problems like there was high fiscal deficit, उसके साथ साथ इंडिया का high inflation था, हमारा debt बहुत ज्यादा था, and these were the challenges, and India was almost to the level of debt default. यहाँ ये IMF director 1992 में IMF director के साथ he is discussing, and that is where India went to IMF, और EEF facility के तहत IMF ने हमें support किया, help किया, and India got loan from IMF. But India also had to mortgage the gold. हमें gold को mortgage करना पड़ा. Now when you try to see the growth phase, आप देखिए यहाँ from the 90s you can see till 2024, you can see how the economy has done. So consistently, if you try to see कि यहाँ पर the GDP growth rate has been very positive, and it has been on the higher side. You can see above 6%. अगर आप इस पूरे फेज को देखते हैं, India has witnessed above 6% growth rate. Temporary blips भी आए हैं. One major blip was during COVID time, but consistently India has done well. यहाँ पे global financial, यहाँ पे GFC आया, global financial crisis आया. Then यहाँ पर we saw there was a COVID 2019 आया, and then यहाँ पे temporary blips आया. For example, here there was a problem called Asian financial crisis. So if you see, so Mr. Manmohan Singh was the prime minister around this phase from 2004 onwards. इस पूरे phase में he was the prime minister of India. As a PM, he led the country, and this was a phase where India he was the finance minister. So you can see कि India का जो growth rate रहा है, एक trajectory अच्छी रही है, and India has done relatively better. And that is precisely because India brought economic reforms, और economic reforms में multiple level पे जो 90s के reforms थे and 2000 के जो reforms थे, that made a huge difference to India's economy. और सबसे जो important factor इस पूरे phase में वो ये है that these reforms trajected India to today we are close to 4 trillion economy. और आपको एक और interesting बात मैं बताऊं, from 1947 से लेके till 2000, मतलब 2000 क्रॉस हो गया, almost 63 year 2010 में इंडिया बिकम $1 बिलियन, एंड इन रिमेनिंग यानी $1 बिलियन से जो हमारी जर्नी $1 ट्रिलियन से जो हमारी जर्नी $4 ट्रिलियन में पहुंची है, दैट इज इन मेयर 14 years, एंड इट इज एक्सपेक्टेड दैट इंडिया विल बिकम $7 बिलियन by 2000 $7 ट्रिलियन by 2032. So if you try to see one major reason जो हमारी इकोनॉमी का ट्रेजेक्टरी ग्रोथ रहा है, that is economic reforms, and Mr. Manmohan Singh has been a person, a leader, a statesman who has made a difference, a technocrat who became an accidental prime minister, and that is what we try to understand. In fact, GDP growth rate trends को आप देखेंगे, some in the last, if you see this, this was a era of, you can say, 1960s and 70s, and this is the era of the reform period. Now you can see this era where economic reforms बहुत up and down का phase आपको देखने को मिल रहा है. You can see these are the phases where these phases are relatively doing better. These were the until 1980 का जो phase था, इसको हम लोग Hindu rate of growth भी कहते हैं. Hindu rate of growth means the Indian economy was growing at a very low pace, और ये जो growth rate है, that was mere 3.5%. From that 3.5%, suddenly economy 1980s पे it relatively performed better, and you can see हमारा जो ये जो trend है, ये 6% का trend है, and before the reform periods, very few years we saw growth rate of 6%, but post reform period consistently India witnessed high growth rate, and ये आपका COVID era था. This was also global financial crisis जो US में subprime crisis आया था. So when you try to see these phases, India के GDP trends काफी consistently अच्छे रहे हैं. Also when you try to see the phase of Manmohan Singh, now Manmohan Singh was the prime minister from 2004 till 2014, यानी ये जो phase रहा है मनमोहन सिंह का growth rate का रहा है, and of course this is the COVID. So when you try to see the growth rate, India did very well consistently. In fact, आप देखिए यहाँ पे growth rate हमारा almost close to 8% है, and again economy came down, and again economy went up and did well. Now if you try to see, this was also an era where India faced multiple challenges, and in spite of the fact India was able to generate a good growth rate. Now when you try to see the growth rate of the economy, one thing that you need to understand, that it is not only because of the leadership but also जो एक इंडिया के अंदर एक जो अपॉर्चुनिटी which was not available in 50s 60s, there was a pent up opportunity, cost which was there, and that led to India doing well. So these were the challenges, and eventually he became the prime minister of India from 2004 to 2014. But ये 2004 to 2014 का जो era था, this era was multiple. Globally there was a global financial crisis. Then we had a phase of challenge where we also witnessed there was a corruption scandals आपके हुए थे. Then corruption scandal, 2G scam, coal scam, all these were there, and this was also era where Indo-US का nuclear deal हुआ था, and this nuclear deal, Mr. Manmohan Singh took a very strong, hard decision and made sure. But he was also said that इस phase में the leadership went, India में एक डायरकी था, which means that the rulership, the ruler, was not only him, but also the parallel it was shared by the leadership of the Congress around that time, where Sonia Gandhi was leading on the other front. Okay, so these are always accusation made that he was a weak prime minister during this phase, because economic growth rate तो अपनी जगह पे है, but lot of policy decisions. For example, this was also era where India witnessed Right to Information Act. India witnessed Manrega in 2005, which became All India in 2007. India also witnessed a lot of welfare schemes. India witnessed a phase where government benefits were given. Also, this was a phase where India did very well in the beginning phase, जहाँ पर in 2004 to 2009. Now, this was a phase where India did very well in the economic growth. India witnessed almost close to, you can say, 8 to 9% growth rate consistently. So this was an era where it had a mixed picture, and India did well on multiple fronts, and eventually India was able to. Then you can see here the photo with the ex-president and also the finance minister during Manmohan Singh time, that was Pranab Mukherjee. Similarly, when you try to see the last decade mein, the role of Manmohan Singh as a leader was, he was a member of parliament for Rajya Sabha from Assam, and later on from Rajasthan. So he was a member of parliament from 1991 in Rajya Sabha till 2024. April 2024 में retire हुए, and at the age of 92 he passed away yesterday. Also, one more thing you need to understand, that 1999 mein he also fought an election from in Delhi, which he lost. So this was an era. Now, person who started, he was born in 1932 in Pakistan. एक गह village है, वहां पे इनका birth हुआ था. He lived in a state of challenge. He went to Oxford, he went to Cambridge, did his education, got scholarship, and brought laurels to India. So definitely, in spite of the fact that he was a technocrat, a meritocrat person who became the prime minister by luck or by chance, but definitely he has made his mark presence all over the world. It is the tributes have been coming from pan India, where our current prime minister, Mr. Modi ji, has said that he is a person who led India, and his wisdom and humility. Also, India mourns the loss of a leader. Similarly, Mr. Manmohan Singh was also the first, one of the first prime ministers who led a long phase of 10 years. He also made a public apology of the parliament for the Sikh riots. Also, he was the first Sikh prime minister of the country who led 2 terms, consistently. But yes, Congress in the second phase, especially 2010 to 2014, was a phase where Congress faced multiple challenges of corruption scandal, 2G scam, CWG scam, and that it is believed that led to the downfall of the Congress as well. So the mixed picture is there in terms of his. But as a leader, he was a person who was very consensus builder. He had a long and illustrious career as an academic person. He was economic advisor. He was a governor of central bank. And when he brought economic reform, he said one thing: no power on earth can stop an idea whose time has come. So Victor Hugo का एक famous quote था, उन्होंने उसमें कहा कि, and that led to the new economic policy in 1991. Also, this was an unprecedented reform where India cut taxes, devalued the Indian rupees, privatized the state PSUs, brought foreign investment, opened the economy, liberalized the trade, and that is where economy revived, industry picked up, and today हमारा forex जो है वो $680 billion plus हो गया है. So that is all for today.